forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
And he picks up a...
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and for all those who's listening and watching it from around the world. And we are now live from the corner of Dalton and Lynch Street. It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the Pregame with your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready, because we pregame harder than the other show's party. It's the Pregame.
And welcome into the pregame show as we are starting to wind down fall camp. We are 10 days away from Jackson State and Florida A&M. Myself, Charles Bishop, Neely, we coming to you with week 3, if you will, of fall camp. I tell you what, man, Neely, little storyline today. A lot of rain in the Jackson area. But the team has adjusted well to still getting this preparation in for the Florida A&M game.
Yes, certainly. We have had, a lot of rain this week. Monday was pushed indoors. There was a little bit of time that we got to enjoy outdoors on Tuesday, but still had to go in. And today was fully inside. It is rain, and more rain, but the Tigers are making the most of it. Using the 3 basketball courts inside of the Walter Payton Center versus the turf field outside. So still going through some mechanics, mostly mental reps and just conditioning and that kind of thing. It's not like they got pads on and hitting each other on the basketball court, but we were strength and conditioning wise ahead of schedule, install wise ahead of schedule. So this has not, no pun intended, put a dampening on the preparation for FAMU. But there's also no mistake about it. You'd much rather be outside on that turf practice field, truly doing some mechanics, but we are making the best and most of this weather and just hope for everybody's, safety and well-being during all these storms that are moving through with rain in the forecast the rest of the week, flash flooding all across the South.
Well, let's get right into it, man. We had a scrimmage this past weekend. And, when we talk about fall camp, that first scrimmage, we both kind of said defense kind of got the best of the offense. This scrimmage here, I think the offense kind of clawed back in there, and they had a pretty good go of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you just look at it on the surface, that the defense won, scrimmage won, and it wasn't close. And you look on the surface of scrimmage 2, the offense won, and that's the kind of narrative you want. You want a unit to be able to go back in and adjust, make some changes, and come back out and be more dominant. And so, if you're scoring the scrimmage, which sometimes can be difficult to do because it's almost like the WWE, man. There's a little scripting to it, as far as there's a format. Now it is real, but there's some scripting to it as far as the play calling and that sort of thing. But I certainly think that the offense got the better of it this past scrimmage. Now, I will say this, Chuck. We got a segment we're going to share with you guys tonight that, we were all access pass from Coach Prime. So we're sitting in on staff meetings and also team talks. So we have for you guys tonight when the coaches addressed the team after the scrimmage. And so you'll hear, that the offense, did what they did and the defense was lackluster. But I do want to point this out, and I have to point it out. If you go by scrimmage 1, and if you go by scrimmage 2, let me tell you what has not happened. Are you ready for this, Chuck?
Go for it.
Defense 1 has yet to be scored on.
Wow. That's an important footnote in terms of a storyline going through this fall camp. And I want our listening audience to hear that again. Defense 1 has not been scored.
No, they have not. When they have gone against the ones have not scored on them. When they've gone against the 2s and 3s, they've not been scored on. So when the defense won the scrimmage, the first scrimmage, it was a byproduct of that. And even in the second scrimmage, which I'm sitting here telling you, when you look at the totality of it, the offense got the better of the day. I also have to acknowledge that betterment of the day was not against the ones. It was against a total game plan for that afternoon, if you will, that morning, if you will. So when you look statistically at it, and when you see when the ones are out there on defense, when defense unit 1 is out there, so far they haven't been scored on.
You know, a question that I get a lot is sort of a breakdown of the position groups. And when you're talking about defense 1, that first string defense, who are the sort of the standouts that have caught your eye thus far?
Well, you know, you're going to hear some of that tonight, Chuck. And just like in good legal terms, a lot of it has been redacted. And here's why. We want to provide our audience with all kinds of information, but we also do not want to provide our opponents with all kinds of information. So when you hear the team talk later on in this episode, and when you hear the staff meeting, the coaches only meeting that we were a part of, you're not going to hear names and numbers. You're going to hear critiques and things that need to be worked on, but they're not going to be talking about players by position or name, because we took that part out, because we understand FAMU watches the pregame show.
So please don't put any comments in there. Why are you trying to?
No. Chuck, the comments are coming, because you're going to hear Coach Prime say, who are your best guys? And we rolled it to another piece of footage right there. And somebody's going to comment, oh, man, I want to hear who did what and who didn't do this. Yeah, and Willie Simmons wants to hear too, y'all. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to all gather around the TV this Saturday, and we're going to watch FAMU and North Carolina play. And we're going to take us some notes, but we'll be damned if we're going to give them notes on us. Like, we'll do that in Miami when they adjust at halftime when we're up 21-0. So you're going to see some inside stuff, but there are going to be some key details. So get ready. There are going to be some key details missing from it. And that's so we can maintain competitive advantage and not have a lot of information out there before week 1. Of course, when we start playing ball and we got game footage out there, that scenario changes. But as we're going through fall camp, even though we've had a public scrimmage or two, the angle of the fans or even the angle of the footage we shoot, we don't put total plays out there on the internet. We just, show you a burst here or there. So that's all done just to protect the integrity of the process as we go through installs. So Chuck, there are some names that you're going to see and hear that you hear, about dominant players who've really been hitting it hard out there in fall camp, whether it's on the D-line, which is a much improved D-line.
Yes, sir.
Talking to Coach Jeff Weeks today about their speed. I mean, this is a D-line that is much faster than last year's unit. And that depth at going on back to linebacker and even in the secondary, it's a very talented group. And I'll go out on the limb. And you may remember, Chuck, this time last year, I went out on a limb and said the 2021 defense was going to be one of the best, if not the best defense in Jackson State history. Of course, all the historians attacked Neely and said, no way, that won't happen. And by the time we got to October and November, they were like, damn, Neely, you were right. So I'm telling you right now, write it down. This defense
is
structured to be more dominant than last year's defense, which is going to put them in that pantheon of great defenses at Jackson State. This 2022 unit is dominant. They're nasty. They're fast, and they are individually and collectively talented.
I think I caught some of that blowback last year as well in terms of comparing their defense to some of the historically great Jackson State defenses.
We've had
the 87 defense, the 96 defense comes to mind. Those were some phenomenal defense, 99 defense. But statistically, last year compared, and we're seeing another group that could be right there in that top 10 in terms of statistically great Jackson State defenses. Of course, they got to put it out there on the field. We got 10 days until we see Florida A&M University, but looking forward to our fan base seeing this very salty, aggressive, fast group up close.
And I think it's our depth. A lot of folks, rightly so, have been talking about, man, how do you replace a James Houston, who's now playing for the Detroit Lions and causing a lot of hell and scorched earth like he did here at Jackson State for them. So looking forward to him making that roster and getting playing time. A lot of people are saying, man, how do you replace a guy like that? And I'm telling you, we've done it, and not just done it with one person. There are 2 or 3 James Houstons out there, coming from opposite edges, opposite defensive end positions, and the linebacking core has gotten stronger. What is going on right now mechanically is the coaches are still working on that final depth chart as far as who's going to travel, to Miami, for home games. Like when we get here for September 17th for the W.C. Gordon, you have 100 guys out there dressed, but you're only taking about 65, maybe 70 tops, to Miami. And so you're really looking at the depth and who's going to participate and who's going to do what. And special teams is not just a place where you drop somebody. You got to be special to be on that for Deion Sanders with the value that he places on special teams. So right now, just identifying, that structure as far as who travels week 1, probably be a larger group with Memphis just being a short ride for week 2. But some of those nuances going through. Have not designated QB2 yet. Expect that to happen at least by Saturday. We have one more padded practice this Saturday, if the weather allows us to do it. And that's primarily, it's going to be like those final preseason games in the NFL. What you'll see this weekend is going to mostly be the 3s versus the 2s. The ones probably won't get a lot of action. Wouldn't be surprised if some of the ones didn't get any action at this point. But you're going to have, you look at that O-line, you know who 5 or 6 are that you got, and you're looking for those final 3 slots. So it's going to be some stiff competition this week and this weekend going into when the team departs. You talk about that game being 10 days away. Well, departure is just 7 days away because next Thursday. So a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross within the next 7 days.
No doubt about it. Well, you got some great content in terms of the coaches addressing the team post scrimmage too. Let's take a look at that.
I promise y'all it's coming.
What I would like to see, guys, on this unit, just thinking about the week that we had. I think overall we got to be more consistent, man. I think mentally we're a little weak, in this unit. I think when things are going good, things are going good. And when we get hit in the mouth, we get hit in the mouth, and we kind of shut down. You know what I mean? You guys get too high. You guys feel good about yourselves, right? And then you ease up. Okay, now you feel like you got to respond. So now we play to a higher level. Okay, this group needs to be more consistent overall. But today I thought you guys played hard. I thought you guys played fast. I thought we executed well. I thought you guys made some good plays. I think there's still a lot that we got to clean up, man. I'm just telling you, there's still some mistakes, overall in every unit or in every position that we got to clean up. Mistakes we've seen at the beginning that still haven't been fixed. So I think, guys, we're not close to where we want to be. Okay, we're not close to where we want to be. We got to be more consistent. Okay. We make routine plays. You got to make routine plays consistently over the course of the game. And then you got to do them every single day. Because the moment, I'm just telling you guys, every Saturday, someone's coming for our freaking throat, man. Okay? We're going to be everyone's freaking Super Bowl every single Saturday this season. Okay? Understand that. You're going to get everyone's best. Okay? So you got to bring your best every single weekend. All right? Okay, but good job. We need to have a great week next week.
BT. What I saw, gentlemen, we would have lost against every team we play defensively. You guys were awful. Absolutely awful. And I'm going to take the blame for it. Okay? But I'm not going to take the blame anymore. It's the last time. You guys couldn't have been any worse. You didn't play smart. You didn't play tough. You didn't play fast, and discipline was out the window. And some of you have no character. You did what you wanted to do. Name one guy. Raise your hand if you think you played well. Be honest. You're right. Even though some of you guys may have made a couple plays, you also gave up plays too. On no level, up front linebacker, secondary, did we play even close to winning football? You guys will look at me like I'm crazy. I would, if we were in the NFL, I'd cut about 25 of y'all and play with 15. But you guys keep looking at us like we're crazy. Stop looking at the coach like he's crazy. He's trying to help you. You guys get out there and just play whatever kind of way you want to play. You don't play discipline. You go back and revert to whatever you did when you thought you were good. We're not very good when we play independent football. Defense is a cohesive unit. We have to be banded together. But some of you guys don't understand that. Stop playing so much damn foosball and all that crap out there, okay, if you can't study and prepare. That's only fun and games when you're ready to play. But no, we'll go out, shoot pool, play ping pong, play foosball, play whatever you guys want to play. We play in 15 days. Are y'all ready to play? I'm gonna take responsibility for this one. But when some of y'all are sitting here and not playing, don't come in my office and ask me why.
That's it. That's it for the day, right, guys? That's it for the day. I need to be coach. That's it for the day. Guys, please don't do anything crazy this evening. Okay? Do not get in no trouble. Do not. I know a bunch of y'all going through. What's the little thing they got on campus?
The merge.
The merge?
Yeah, the band.
Yeah, y'all going to that. Don't go in there stunning like y'all all of that and all of this, man. Just blend in, do your thing. Don't get in no foolishness. Don't get in no mess. Because I'm not gonna be able to save you when you do. I'm gonna try my best, but I'm gonna always stand on the side of right. I'm always take that stand. So be careful, guys, and don't have we letting y'all a little earlier than we would normally do. So please don't take advantage of this and do nothing crazy that's gonna cost you an opportunity that can cost you.
Lifetime regret.
There you go, lifetime of regret. I like that. I love it. I love it. So we good for the day. Proud of y'all. Most of y'all played well. Some of y'all didn't, and it is what it is. Coaches, let's sit down and go over this film, talk about it, and see how we can make this a better club football team. We gotta dominate this year. We good, guys. Don't leave nothing in here, please.
What you mean?
You know, Neely, nobody can say our Jackson State coaches sugarcoat anything, bro. You get it unvarnished right here on the pregame show. That was their assessment of Scrimmage 2 in terms of what went right, what went wrong. That's Dennis Thurman for any of your corporate speaking engagements. If you want to motivate your team, I tell you what, he laid it out.
Yeah, he did. Let's go with the offense first. I think when you heard offense coordinator Brett Bartolone speak to his unit, that's about as close as a compliment as you know he could give. Because I think he is aware that the offense performed well, and pointing out that QB1 Shedeur Sanders didn't participate in scrimmage 2. He was a coach, if you will, helping with the play signals and watching the installs and that kind of thing. So you had the 2s and 3s and 4s as far as quarterback goes, leading those offensive units. And so he was pleased, you know, but he also saw that there's some consistency issues with the offense that has to get fixed. But I think he was aware post scrimmage that they were able to take advantage of some things, particularly downfield, because as a unit, the wide receiver unit on this past Saturday at scrimmage 2, whether you know, it was someone in that first 4 rotation, the second 4 or third 4, because that room is deep. Everybody ate. It was a feast for the wide receivers out there, which is why now going to Dennis Thurman, Chuck, which is why you hear him with the tone he had, because one thing that neither of these position coaches have, they don't have different standards for different units. You know, if you're with the first team, second team or third, the standard is the standard, and the standard is non-negotiable. So even though defensive unit 1 had some guys missing and was not out there a lot together, and so group 2 and 3 were being picked apart, when you get in this meeting room, that was still a defensive poor performance. So that's why you heard his tone about who he would cut, and that time is of the essence, and stop playing, in the game room out there that Coach Prime has put together for these players, and focus on your film and know your assignments and your alignment and your technique. So he was upset. So he is not going to negotiate down just because you're the third defensive tackle. The third is held to the same standard as D tackle 1 is. So you heard in his voice, man, that look, that wasn't acceptable, and I'm gonna taking it anymore after this. It's gonna be on y'all, and you're either not gonna be on this team or especially not traveling if that's the best effort you can give them.
There it is, right there, unvarnished. One thing I did want to point out, a lot of people ask about special teams, and that was a group that was highlighted by Coach Prime this past weekend, where he quoted, "I love the kicking game," in terms of what these guys have accomplished in fall camp. This team is coming together. You see the offense had a great weekend this past scrimmage. The defense probably carried the day in the scrimmage 1. But again, we talk about you want to be peaking going into Miami next week.
And I think we are. I think we're just that. I think, as you said, Chuck, that scrimmage 1, the defense carried the day. Particularly that defensive line was very dominant with their lateral movement, getting into the backfield, stopping running backs before they could break it all the way outside and turn upfield on a couple of sweeps that were run and that kind of thing. And then I think the second scrimmage, it was the wide receivers who had the better of the day. T.C. Taylor really had them prepared and focused on their craft that week in their film room. And speaking of film, y'all, one of the things that happens here is that the coaches are able to see which players have logged in and watched film and the time they have spent watching film. That report even goes to Coach Prime per unit and per player. And here is the funny thing that has stood out this week between scrimmages headed into this next one. The players who have watched the most film perform the best.
Interesting correlation there.
Interesting correlation. Give you a couple of names, for instance. You look down there, you see a Dallas Daniels or a Willie Gaines, and where someone next to them has watched 15 minutes of film, they've watched 42 minutes of film, and they went out there and had great days this past weekend. So there's a correlation in the classroom as well as in the film room. The more you study, the better you perform. So, this final phase here, man, you're going to see a lot of tough talk from the coaches because this is a non-negotiable standard here. And we're not trying to go down to Miami and get out of there with a 7-6. We're trying to dominate. We want to dominate the entire season. We want to go undefeated, win a SWAC championship, win a Celebration Bowl, but not 10-7, not 7-6. We want to show that this program has built something here, and these guys are capable of playing at the next level and against anybody.
Speaking of non-negotiable standard, more great content we were able to get in terms of Coach Prime meeting with the staff after they met with the team. So, AD, let's roll that.
Well, before we hit play on that, I got to tell you a quick Dennis Thurman story today because y'all heard, if you don't know Dennis Thurman, you can go Google Dennis Thurman / Harold Carmichael and just watch that hit when Dennis Thurman was with the Cowboys. But Dennis Thurman, the way you just heard a second ago, he's like that all the time. Nice guy. I mean, respectful, mannerable, cracks jokes. But when he's dialed in, he's dialed in. Chuck, they happen to be, I've been here all day, embedded with the program all day. They happen to be, the Baltimore Ravens were in town. And when scouts come, sometimes they bring something, and they brought donuts today. So somebody told me it was donuts in the break room. Just as I'm opening the lid, I hear, "Hey, don't eat them donuts." And it's Dennis Thurman. Hey, man.
And if Dennis Thurman says, "Hey, I know I jumped."
That lid slowly went down. And then I looked at him, I said, "Man, I don't play for you. I'm going to eat me a donut."
That's classic. That's classic. Oh, well, AD, let's take a look at Coach Prime meeting with the staff after the scrimmage. Let's roll that.
That means he's practicing, not doing.
I mean, it just some days he just does what he just gets out of the defense. He wants to.
Well, get him out of the defense. when they get out of the defense, get them out of the defense, because in the long run, it's going to hurt us a lot. It's going to help. But baby needs to do sit they butts out.
I got
It's
you.
not going to help us.
I know that's. I mean, as far as that goes, he needs to come. I mean, I just think he loses concentration and get doing his own thing.
Well, you put him at the threes. I'm pretty sure his concentration will quicken.
I got you. You know, overall, I just think today was a bad day for him, and I know we can't have that. You know, up to this point, the inside guys been playing pretty good. Of course, we got so that's where we're at.
What was your best guys in there?
Great effort to three. I think maybe part of it is you played him at 5 also. Watching him this week playing both, I think maybe giving him just the 3 will help.
Okay, so when we start practicing, I should see your best guys.
Okay. Yes, sir.
It should be your best guys. So I want to see the depth chart for you guys before we get back Monday. Your next guys, your ends. Are you talking about both those?
Yeah.
You're taking the ends.
His 4 reps special team. He was tired and it showed. He didn't play well today in scrimmage. He's out of position.
Why is he on special teams? What made us think that he's a special team guy?
He's a backup defensive end. He's long. He can run. He's a guy that's going to travel. So
Special teams is a thing that you got to want.
yeah,
It's not a thing that we can assign.
yeah,
We can't say, hey, this is a special teams guy. That's something they got to want.
yeah. Well, he showed today that he is not physically capable of doing both.
Take him off. Break down
Uh,
just. It ain't no man of hoping this. Like right now, this ain't no hope team. This is like when we go out there, when we get on that plane, we gonna know who starts. We gonna know this guy goes down. That's the next move. It ain't no indecisiveness that we going with. We gonna know who's who.
Yeah.
That's how we gotta approach that. What you got to say?
They do a good job of finishing the day. Wasn't real proud of how physical they was on the crack racks, you know what I'm saying, replacing things like that. But that's just who they are. We just gotta just keep working and try to get more consistent. Using his hands, but just down the field work, that's where he got a lot of trouble. But you know, it is what it is with those guys. They just gotta keep working.
With finding the ball. His whole thing was based on two back shoulders. With the outside in, that can't happen. It can't happen. I don't know. How you say it?
Safeties, inconsistent. I want to see more physical.
They think they're playing well.
Correct.
And you guys are going to have to sit them down, and I'll be glad to join that. But from their level of expectation and what they've ever accomplished, they think it's really good. From what you expect, it's not. And there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect because they think they balled today. They really did. You do know that, right? I don't know why you're surprised. And the only thing difference is when you apply pressure. See, when you apply pressure, now you got out of the kid what you wanted because you applied pressure. But if you would have just allowed him to be who he is, he wasn't going to do that. So you got to apply pressure.
He gets to the right spot, but he'll dance a little bit instead of just keep driving.
Is he playing too high?
At times, coach, and that's why we started. We're in that shoot every day now. We're doing our endo in the shoot. That's our endo. So we're just really emphasizing that. He's getting to the spot. He's making his calls pretty good. I'm happy with what he's doing.
Showing he can be that short yardage back, you know. So those top 4 guys, we got a real good room. You know, we're explosive. They know their assignments, their alignment. As far as execution, we had 1 ball on the ground, 1 too many. We blew 1 protection as far as, you know, defense bringing us safety, so we got to scan better.
But overall, they know their assignments, so we got to take the extra step to make sure they don't miss those assignments. But they're showing some toughness in protection. They will step up and put their nose in the fan. But good group, they're very coachable. So with those top 4, we can run the football. Yeah.
He bad.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody. He's going to get one. He's that kind of guy on the field.
Ronnie, today I thought pretty much for the most part. I challenged him yesterday because we were so. I feel like we can bring the energy that we usually bring, but today I challenged him today to be physical and extend plays.
But that's it. Let's get our stuff together on the defensive side, offensive side.
Neely, a couple of notes that I took from that content there. Our standard is not theirs. Coach Prime mentioned that he made sure that the staff understood that there's a disconnect between what the players think is good and what the coaching staff thinks is good. So great dynamite content in terms of taking a peek in terms of looking at this Jackson State staff and how they are fleshing things out, getting ready for next week.
Yeah, really phenomenal conversation to be a part of, or not necessarily part of, to be a fly on the wall. You know, he didn't call on my assessment. So I don't want to say I was a part of it on our behalf, but just once again, hats off to Coach Prime for the access that he has allowed the pregame show to have so that we can bring information and content out there to the fan base and just, you know, show how this program is managed internally. And it's one of the things I want to underscore that we talked about at the beginning of the show. You can tell a lot of that conversation is missing, and that was by design. You know, we're not going to put out information about the flaws or tendencies of a player when we don't just have fans watching this program. We have future opponents watching this program, namely an opponent, you know, that's week one. So I know that there's a thirst out there for information of who they were talking about and what do they mean when they said this. Just trust us. It's being fixed. It's being resolved. The arrow is pointing up, but we're not trying to give FAMU any fodder or ammo before we get to Miami and they see that playbook in person for the first time. So some of the things you hear the coaches talking about in that coaches only meeting were particular players or issues that they need to focus on. Then that was, you know, we were 15 days away. Now we are 10 days away from the game, 7 days away from traveling. So some of that stuff that you heard there is being cleaned up. But Coach Prime goes, you know, position by position, and everybody reports in about what they think as far as their depth chart. And he does have veto authority when he sees something. I think what you can hear, even when he was talking to Coach Marcus, the offensive line coach, he talked about a player playing too high. Like, he is a detailed guy, and he sees all those things. He's not just paying close attention to the secondary, which is something he's intimately familiar with. He's paying attention to the offensive line, to the receivers, to the defensive line, and he knows the nuances and what it's supposed to look like. And you touched on it, Chuck, previously, his attention to special teams.
Yes,
and
sir.
You heard it there. It's like, no, you know, you don't, just because a guy is not performing well at linebacker, you don't put him on the flight or the bus so he can play special teams. Special teams is an important role. We want guys who want to be out there and have the fortitude and the talent to be out there. It's not like it is in some high school clubs where you just, you know, dump kids over the special teams because his mama fine and you don't want to kick him off the team. That ain't how. Maybe I told him myself. That ain't how it works here at Jackson State. You know, if you're going to be out there on special teams, you're going to perform. And so you just heard the mechanics and what goes into that decision-making process as we get this travel roster situated with 7 days before we get on the plane.
No doubt. Well, as we get ready to kind of close things down tonight, moving forward, and you touched on it a little bit, another padded practice this weekend, mostly looking at the 2s and 3s in terms of getting those final fine-tuning, if you will, ready so the guys can make the trip, if you will, going to Miami.
Yeah, particularly that designated QB2 and also the depth at offensive line and just the overall units that has some other depth to them, like which linebackers are going to go outside the top 4 guys. Same thing with the secondary. So this weekend, Chuck, will, as you said, a padded scrimmage with mostly the 3s versus the 2s. Not that some 1s won't get action, but it's not going to be necessarily an evaluation for them because they've done what it takes and they're ready to go. So really just kind of not trimming the fat as in cutting folks because they'll still be on the team, but just looking at the priorities for this trip and the game plan as we go to Miami for the Orange Blossom Classic. And on that note, today, which is Wednesday, was the first day that in the film room we really got into FAMU, what they're about as far as their personnel and their tendencies. So we're going to be bringing you guys some of that content. However, the nuance is that all of that is subject to change because FAMU has a week 0 game. So this is mostly film and tendencies from last year. Of course, we will know more as we gather to watch them play North Carolina on Saturday night. They play UNC Chapel Hill, so you'll see more of what their tendencies and nuances are for this coming season. But, you know, right now, everything is all roads to lead to Miami. and all focuses on the game planning for FAMU, be that all three phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams.
And breaking news that came out this afternoon from our friends over at HBCU Game Day, but Jeremy Musa looks like he will get the start for FAMU this weekend. The 6'3", 225-pound Vanderbilt transfer looks like he will get the start for the Rattlers this weekend. So we'll get an opportunity to put our eyes on this Florida A&M football team against UNC this weekend. Of course, they have various storylines that we will get into in depth next week. We have some great interviews with individual who covers the Florida A&M Rattlers. But when you see us next week, we will be down there in South Beach as we bring it to you hot and heavy here on the pregame show, and we really get into the thick of things, getting ready for this Florida A&M football game. The Orange Blossom Classic, I tell you what, Neely, some of the old players, they're really excited. I talked to the 1962 Orange Blossom Classic MVP Roy Curry Sr. today. He's excited. He's looking forward to watching this Jackson State Tigers take on FAMU. Rich tradition with both football teams. Really looking forward to next week. It's going to be a lot of fun, man.
It will be a lot of fun. You know, we do have one more Wednesday before we get out of here, so maybe bringing you some content then. Something else to keep eye for. We have part 4 of our final part in the sit down with Coach Prime, at home with Coach Prime.
Phenomenal sit down
before we leave to Miami. Also spent some time this week with wide receiver coach TC Taylor. Has a segment coming out soon, so you guys subscribe to YouTube, follow on Facebook, and turn your notifications on because some good content coming in addition to these live shows. And speaking of the live shows, Chuck, and speaking of South Beach, I told Coach Prime, and now I'm going to tell you and our audience, one of these shows, you already laughing, you know something coming. One of these shows, Neely would be in a wife beater with his left nipple exposed. So
I could almost set my timer to it. I knew it was coming, man. Well, I tell you what, man. Well, of course, our fan base is looking forward to Neely's left nipple out exposed next week. But man, I tell you what, man.
About Justin Timberlake, I kind of pulled my shirt off to the side.
Too much, man. I tell you what. Well, great content. I'm glad you pointed that out in terms of some things for our fan base to look forward to. That is a phenomenal sit down that you have with Coach Prime. And I tell you, so many nuggets within those interviews. Really appreciate the work that you're putting in terms of that access and being able to talk to our football coach. Man.
Yeah, man, he has certainly just made an open door for us. And it's all built on trust, like even with that staff-only meeting or, the team talks, he understands that the pregame show has the best interest of this program at heart, and we know what to do and what not to do and how to feed our rabid, passionate fan base without also feeding our opponents and the haters as well. So always walking that fine line and striking that balance, but it all starts with Coach Prime's trust and his open doors as far as this media outlet being able to participate and shadow him and this team throughout their travels. But we are, Chuck, 10 days away from game 1, 7 days away from traveling to game 1. So, hey, man, let's get after it. The season is finally here.
Man, the season is finally here. Looking forward to it. And the pregame show will be with you every step of the way. Looking forward to it. Like you said, Neely, we'll come back with another Wednesday show, and then we get to do it for real down in South Beach next week. And as always, we want to thank our partners, Chambers and Gaylor, for their tremendous sponsorship of the pregame show.
No doubt about it.
Well, as an ode to all our former coaches and players, in the words of the great Coach Edward Lipscomb, we got a team, by golly. We're going to fight, by golly. We're going to win, by golly. Until next week, everybody, it's Bishop, it's Neely, it's the pregame show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and for all those who's listening and watching it from around the world. And we are now live from the corner of Dalton and Lynch Street. It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the pregame with your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready because we pregame harder than the other show's part. It's the pregame.